Okay, ladies, all of you out here who ask me all the time, how can I be more active? What can I do to make a difference? This woman has that in spades. This is Lela Gilbert, my friend. She's the author of Saturday People, Sunday People, Israel Through the Eyes of a Christian Sojourner. And wow, what a book.
Thank you.
Before you talk, I love to tell this story because I'm telling it to everybody now. Lela wanted to go to Israel. You wanted to go your whole life.
Yeah, I really did.
You wanted to go your whole life. She packed up and she went by herself. She found an apartment on the internet. And she went to, and you've been there ever since. And you're a Southern California girl.
I am. I've been there 6.5 years, and I never anticipated that. I don't know what I was thinking entirely when I did that, but I didn't expect to stay that long. But I've made so many good friends that I hate to leave. You know, it's hard to leave. So it's wonderful, and it was fun, but it was a little crazy, I admit.
What pushed you off the cliff? I mean, you were passionate and compassionate about Israel, and
why did I decide to finally do something? I was in
so many people want to do things like that, and they don't, and then they regret it the rest of their lives.
I think that's true, but I was in Egypt in 2006 in January, and I was standing on a beach. My son was there. We were in Nuweiba, Egypt, and from there you can see Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, and you're in Egypt. And I had this epiphany that if I didn't get myself to Israel, I was going to be like Moses and never see the land. Mm-hmm. And so I said, okay. And instead of waiting for someone to pay my way, I checked, and I had enough miles on British Airways because I'd done a lot of other traveling. And so I booked a flight, and then I booked the flight, and I looked for a place to stay, and I didn't want to go to a hotel. I didn't want to go to a tour. It would be too expensive to do the hotel. And the tours, I wanted to see for myself, so I found this apartment, and it looked kind of familiar. I don't know, familiar, but it looked comfortable, like I would be at home there. Mm-hmm. And I contacted the owner, and we started writing these long emails. She's telling me all about Israel, and we kind of became friendly, so I thought it would be okay. And it was. It turned out to be fantastic. The best part of town. I had no idea where I was going. It all worked out, and so there I am.
But there's another side of Israel that's so dangerous that I think most of us can't even fathom. We maybe got a little dose of it this week with the Boston Marathon bombing, and people are saying this must be what it's like on a tiny degree and to live in Israel, where you just don't know what.
You never really know. Things are a lot more peaceful than they were, say, up to 2004, because the Israeli army and the police and so forth have really figured out how to predict what's coming and how to crack down before it happens. They've infiltrated a lot of the radical groups in the West Bank and so forth. But yes, everyone in Israel is wounded. They're wounded by the Holocaust, they're wounded by terrorism, or they're wounded by war. I don't know anyone that hasn't been in that ripple effect where there's a bomb, and then there's the family, and then there are the friends, and everybody is affected. It's a small community. Jerusalem's less than a million people, and I think it's 700,000 or something like that. Everybody has been through something. So when you see things happen, it's very clear to us in Boston, because you see that many people lost limbs. Yeah. What we always hear is how many died. And that's not the story. The story is the living, and the way they have to live for the rest of their lives, and excuse me, not only how they have to live for the rest of their lives, but how they have to live in fear, because they have this thing in their mind that happened to them. One of my friends I talked about in the book was really badly injured in a bombing in a market in Israel, in Jerusalem. And, you know, she's always very much on edge about what can happen and who the enemy is, and she's extremely sensitized. It's a different culture because of those things.
One of the things that affected me the most in your book, you talk about when you were near the Gaza border and watching a bomb shelter being put into the ground, and talking with your friend about how so many people are on antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds, and the children are chronic bedwetters, and they're always
They're always waiting for the next siren. And within the area around the Gaza border, 1 million Israelis live within range of rockets. And it's getting to be a larger trajectory because the Iranians are providing better quality rockets. And so they go farther. And where I was in Ashkelon, and it was now necessary to put bomb shelters there. It hadn't been before. But the grad rockets and the Katyushas can reach that far from Gaza now. And so this looked like a big cement Lego that was coming out of the sky in a crane. And all these little kids are in their colorful clothes. And they're excited because something's going on and it's about them and they're in school. And I'm thinking, what do you tell these kids? They're like 3 and 4 years old. They were not preschool, maybe kindergarten age. And I asked the teacher, I said, what do you say? And she said, well, we just tell them that we want them to be safe and it's special for them. I mean, how do you even live that way? But it's the rockets, and then it's the sirens, and then it's, if they're in school, the teachers, but if they're at home, the mothers trying to figure out if they've got 3 or 4 kids, you know, what do we do? Who do I grab? Who do I take? What's going on? How fast can we go? It's endless, and it started up again recently. We just had a couple of days ago in Eilat, the rocket came in from Sinai, and 2 rockets apparently went into Jordan and 2 into Eilat. So, you know, it never really goes away.
There's a part of America, there's a segment of Americans who think we need to just turn our backs on Israel. Mm-hmm. That's that part. It's not just liberals. There are libertarians,
right,
and a lot of people who say we should just cut all our ties, mm-hmm. let them just fight it out, mm-hmm. turn our backs. It seems like that's pretty much the attitude of the Obama administration. Yeah. What are the Israelis feeling about Americans right now? Do they feel betrayed?
Well, they certainly don't trust this administration, at least the people I know. And I think that represents a pretty large percentage. I think when Obama went over recently and spoke about, you know, all the good things he could say about Zionism, maybe he changed a few minds, but most people mistrust him and his philosophy because of the speech he gave at Al-Azhar University in Cairo in 2009 was essentially an anti-Israel speech if it was looked at closely, and that was sort of the beginning of his regime. And so Israelis don't really trust him. Actually, many of them believe he's Muslim. And it's interesting because here, you know, people are a little more tuned into his background and so forth, and they say, well, you know, he's not really Muslim. But there, it's what you'll hear from people, even very sophisticated people, not just taxi drivers, who all say that. He's mistrusted. I don't know, I think everyone believes the evangelical community still supports Israel, and that's a huge, massive number of people, and they support Israel more than the American Jews, which is a real point of contention there, because they don't understand why American Jews are less supportive of Israel than Christians.
Why do you think they are?
Because of the Bible. Because a lot of the Jews in America that support Israel are very traditional Orthodox Jews. The ones that don't tend to be more secular. The Bible seems to be the reason that really guides people. Of course, there are political reasons too, but in large numbers, people that believe the Bible that are evangelicals believe Israel is God's chosen land and that the Jews are his chosen people. And so they support it for that reason. Also, strategically, I mean, if you're not a believer in any kind, there's still very good reason to support Israel. Strategically in the Middle East, it's the only democracy. It's the only place where Jews, Muslims, and Christians can live together, except in the West Bank, where Jews aren't permitted, except in their settlements.
And that's the opposite of what Jimmy Carter said in his book.
Absolutely. and Abbas.
Apartheid, please.
I know, it's just, there's so much that's upside down that it's hard to believe that we hear these things. And if you really go there and live there, you're like, why am I sitting next to a Muslim family in a cafe, and there's a Christian guy over here, and I'm a Christian, and there's a Jewish, very Orthodox family over there. We're all sitting in the same cafe. Apartheid, the black people couldn't even go in that restaurant.
In the same restaurant, yeah.
Much less eat together. It's just crazy.
Well, Lela, I mean, this book was just so beautiful to me. I'm going to share this with everyone they're going to get their own copies. They don't get mine because this one's signed. But this book just so touched me, and anyone who's even thinking of going to Israel, first of all, go for it. do it. Don't wait.
Yeah.
But read this book. This is a beautiful introduction to what Israel's really like now. I felt like I was there, and it makes me really want to go. I want to come and hang out with you.
You have to come.